The meeting. Welcome to the Winnetka Village Council regular meeting for May 20, 2025. I'll call this meeting to order. Okay. All right, Rob. Let's please mute your cell phones and other electronic devices, if you would. And I will ask Trustee Orsic to lead the Pledge of Allegiance tonight.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, God, indivisible, with liberty for all.
Thank you, Trustee Orsic. And I will ask Village Manager Rob Bahan to call roll call for attendance.
Thank you. Trustee Handler?
Here.
Trustee Albinson?
Here.
Trustee Orsic?
Here.
Trustee Apatow?
Here.
Trustee Myers?
Here.
President Dearborn?
Here. And Rob, can you do a quorum check for the next three
Absolutely.
meetings?
The next three meetings, June 3rd, the 10th, and the 17th. Are there any conflicts? No? Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll go to item 4, public comment. And I would ask if anyone in the audience wants to speak about an item not on tonight's agenda. We do have a sign-up sheet. I think that first one is Mr. Winnecheco. Okay, Ted?
Hello, Ted Winnichenko. So yes, not on the agenda. So I wanted to first say that, yeah, I'll probably go to the Lakeshore on Thursday, rainy tomorrow. And that's what I wanted to talk about. So I got an email from the village's attorney, suggesting that I could be arrested. And I asked, for what reason? Haven't heard a response yet. And I asked, just tell me, because I don't want to actually break the law. That's not really my intent. I don't think I am breaking the law. I think the village is, but I think that I'm not. And so if you think I could be arrested, let me know. What will I be arrested for? Because if there is something, then I won't go. But I don't get a response. It seems very Trump Bondi-ish, this kind of intimidation through obscure threats. So if you're going to say that I could be arrested, just tell me what the charge will be. I'll look at it. If I'm worried that that may be a violation, I'm not going to go. I don't want to be arrested. So I asked for that. And that brings me to the second part, this whole settlement agreement. So that's basically a contract, right? It's not a quasi-criminal. It's a contract. We made a contract. I entered into that contract based on a good faith assumption that the village was going to kind of adhere to its side. And that was that we were not going to let that Lakeshore stay closed. But it's clear, I mean, they're working on it now, I noticed, but it's clear that that construction at the Lakeshore has slowed way down. It seems to me inevitably that the intent was to keep that fence up as long as possible. And so it was a contract entered in bad faith. I was given bad information. I'm not going to necessarily be bound by it. And I find it interesting that there's this dichotomy between how I am treated by the village and how 205 Sheridan is treated by the village. How did this all start? This all started because I went out there on public land and I took pictures of a non-permitted structure in Lake Michigan, a structure that had been put there by 205 Sheridan. 205 Sheridan had been told explicitly by the IDNR that they needed a permit for it. They ignored them. They did it anyway, and they were hoping that it was going to get covered with sand and no one would know better. And the village, instead of aggressively pursuing them for this violation, this gross violation of the permit, they charged me with trespassing, right? Mr. Ishbia didn't have to come and answer questions about why he didn't uphold the permit that he was given, why they chose to ignore the direction from the IDNR, why the village didn't enforce their permit. No, instead, Ted got a complaint for trespassing, which really wasn't. So just tell me, if I'm going to be arrested, what am I going to be arrested for? If it's real, I'm not going to go. But otherwise, I'll let you guys know Thursday, probably around the close of construction time. I'll call the police. Hey, and I actually have a comment on an agenda item, but it's on the consent agenda, and there usually isn't a comment period for that. Can I make my quick comment?
Sure.
Okay, very quickly. So you guys are doing the consent agenda for 480 Oak Street. I didn't notice that before. So I just want to, I'm curious, will that historical designation include the structures that have been built by the private entity in the public right-of-way illegally that encroach on village land? Because if you look at the what's built there now, the post for the address and some other structures are actually in the street. They've been built out into the street. They've kind of privatized all that. So I just would like to ask to make sure that that historical designation does not include the illegal structures that are on public land.
Thank you for your comment. King Poor.
Good evening, King Poor, 735 Walden. And I was here last Tuesday, so I guess I just can't get enough of IMEA. But I'm not going to talk about the PJM market. I'm going to talk about something simpler. Just 3 words: competition of ideas. The American legal system is built on the idea that disputes can be resolved best through the competition of ideas. And when there is a complex dispute, a technical dispute, there's often experts on both sides. Expert A will say one thing, expert B will say the other thing. But what never happens is that expert A will say one thing, but expert B is not heard from because expert A has already said what he thinks expert B is going to say. There's a similar idea in the field of engineering, that when you're making critical decisions, you need to test them. If you're going to build a bridge, you have to stress test the steel. Now, in our situation, the IMEA's presentation, Mark Pruitt's presentation, they've never really been subjected to a stress test. So what do I mean by that? A stress test is not our small group of amateur volunteers who we've written letters, we've done the best we can, but we are not experts in the field of energy supply and energy purchasing. A true test would be found in the report that I circulated last Tuesday from Nisha Desai, and it's understandable if you didn't read it because I had only sent it hours before the meeting, but Mark Pruitt's report was not available until that Friday before Mother's Day, and Nisha generously volunteered to work that weekend and put together a report that you got on Tuesday. But that is the sort of stress test by an expert in that field that will really challenge what Mark said, what IMEA said, in a way that it hasn't been tested before. And it's not just reading her report, it's actually listening to her, asking questions, in the same way that you've spent hours listening to IMEA and Mark Pruitt. And if you listen to these experts, such as Nisha or others, power suppliers, then you're going to learn something new, and it's going to only help your decision making. Now, some of you have told me this is a tough decision. Yeah, it is a tough decision. There's complexity, there's uncertainty, and whatever you decide, it could be that you are wrong as the years unfold. And if you're wrong, but you still heard the experts from the other side, then you've done your best, and you won't have any regrets. But if you're wrong, and you've never taken the time to test this, to stress test it, to hear from the other side, they're experts, not just our non-experts like us, then, well, that's another story. We all know that this is the most important energy and environmental decision in a generation in Winnetka. It's going to affect those who come after us for many years to come. So the request is simple. Allow your decision-making to be one in which you will not have any regrets.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, King. Thank you. David Mulligan.
Good evening, David Mulligan. I'm a 29-year resident of Winnetka, living at 1080 Pelham Road. I am not here tonight as an energy expert. I am not a scientist. I am not a tech guru. Like many of you, I'm in the business world, and as a CEO, I spend a good portion of my time deliberating and considering making complex decisions in environments which I may not have complete information. And what I want to share with you tonight is what has served me well over the years. And that is that, and what I've learned over the years and have heard from many strategy experts, that in periods of rapid market changes, taking an iterative approach to decision-making, maintaining flexibility, maintaining agility, is indeed a best practice. It strikes me that that is a situation that the board is very much in right now. So I would urge you to sort of consider that sort of signing a contract now for 30 years is really not consistent with best principles of sort of maintaining agility when there's new information that can be brought forth. We're in the midst of a revolution, not only in the energy sector, but an equally important revolution in the area of AI, which I happen to believe is very relevant to your decision. What I heard presented at the board last week by Mr. Pruitt was that the alternative to the IMEA contract was an enormous amount of complexity for the village, coupled with the potential need to add significant new staffing. While I believe other experts have many other questions about that presentation, let me simply add the AI factor, which is that within the next 2 to 3 years, many complex processes will be handled by AI, and I certainly know of no organizations which are projecting significant staffing increases well into the future for functions that may very well be powered by AI at much lower cost. So I believe that the capability of AI is yet another reason why we should avoid committing to such a long-term contract at this point in time. Lastly, my sense from the conversation at the end of the board meeting last week was that there may be a belief that signing the IME contract now represents a safe and secure path for the village's energy future. I would submit that it is a much riskier option, particularly signing a contract on behalf of future generations and one which has no minimum commitments to renewable resource commitments and relies on the village being only one of 32 municipalities from all over Illinois, which may or may not be aligned with the priorities and ideals of this village when it comes to energy choices. I therefore urge the village to remain agile, continue a tradition of bold and visionary leadership, and not be pressured into signing the IME contract at this point in time. Let me thank you for your service and your time on this issue.
Thank you, Mr. Mulligan. Rocky.
Evening, everybody. We are 10 days away from opening our farmers market. Believe it or not, it's our 8th year in Winnetka. 8 years, I can't believe it. It's going to look the same. There are going to be more vendors. When we opened up the registration process to, everybody online, it really made a huge difference. And I think we've received well in advance of 80 registrations so far. We haven't accepted all of them. Opening day, we'll probably have 56 vendors. We no longer have enough space in the parking lot to handle 56 vendors. So we will be using the park a great deal this summer. Another good thing is that we now have booked musical acts, live acts, for every single Saturday. That's 22. I'd like to thank Val and Mark Haller for a generous donation so that we could afford to pay some of the musicians. That's very nice. It'll be primarily food-based again. We have some non-food vendors, the ones we like, but it's a lot of food. So 7:30 to 12:30, May 31st, October 25th. Bring an appetite.
Thank you, Rocky. We're excited, for sure. Katie Scullion.
Hi, Katie Scullion, 570 Oak Street. So I am joining my friends, my new friends from the Winnetka Future Energy Coalition. I've spoken to a couple of you directly, and of course you've had our emails for a few months now. I wanted to add on to what King said about the process and how we think about our defense of this decision, which is a tough one going forward. We know, first of all, that as trustees, this rests with you, and we appreciate you have a lot of other issues, and we really do thank you for taking on, the role. But the coalition actually formed because we felt like we needed to add more power to this decision making. The coalition has world and national energy experts, CEOs, CFOs, consultants, and former trustees. So it's a pretty large group, and we've yet to have someone, I don't think you've had someone come up and ask for a continuation of IMEA at this point yet. So the coalition wanted to add one thing tonight after our study session last week, and that is we want to say it's irresponsible to move forward at this point in time. And we have two specific requests. The first is the one King just mentioned. We have a chance to do an RFI, request for information, we have confirmed, and in the Nisha Desai memo that we have forwarded, we've confirmed there are probably about 8 firms that would respond to that if you gave them the opportunity. Based on Mr. Pruitt's presentation last week, please understand that these firms can talk about a range of serviceability, including the particular full requirements, which means Winnetka doesn't have to staff up with a large staff. The second request we have is we do think we really do need to close the gap on our understanding of the services, of how the PJM market operates, and of what the terms of this contract. There's a lot of gaps. Or to put it another way, we just don't think the council yet has all the facts. We might not have exactly all the facts, but we really feel like there's a gap in the facts. So our offer is, calling up us to help in any way. We could get creative. We could have a 1-hour task force. We could do many things to sort of help move this to the next step where there isn't disappointment in the future. So someone said last week, no one complains about electricity service in Winnetka. The size of the coalition just shows that actually isn't true. There is tremendous growing awareness of what our energy footprint is and what the alternatives are. So the Chicago Tribune has written an editorial recently this year, as well as multiple news stories about the problems with the IMEA contract and how they're serving their members. And our friends in Naperville and St. Charles have refused to be pushed, to follow this deadline, and they're taking their time. So thank you very much. I am out of time. I think we just want to have a better energy future. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Tom Barron.
Hi, I'm Tom Barron, 1284 Trap Lane. Thank you for being so open to public comments and reading what's been forwarded to you. I think that's commendable. Thank you. So I didn't talk last week, but as I absorbed what was said and the questions and the conversations that went around, there's a few things that came to my mind. And full disclosure, I'm connected to King and Katie as well. So I don't know if you may or may not know that, or if it's even relevant. But you have it all. This contract, I've been in business for 35, 40 years, depending on how you want to count it. Signing a contract, a 30-year contract. A 20-year extension, 10 years in advance, just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. The competition in the energy space, not just electricity, electron providers, but the technological advances, excuse me, technological advances that we have today weren't here in 2007, 2006, whenever this contract was signed. There wasn't a lot of choices. Today there's a lot of choices, and there's more coming. And I think it would be a mistake to not be in a position to take advantage of those. What I think should happen is, I don't know if there's ever been a poll taken of the residents or the business owners as to what their priorities might be. Is it environmental? Is it cost? The presentation by Mark last week, I think it was from the point of view of if the village goes it alone with PGIM, they're going to have to hire 10 or 20 people. That's true. But if the village talks to other providers, I know we can replicate what IMEA is providing to the village today in terms of service and electricity. One of the things too that hasn't been mentioned, between St. Charles, Naperville, and Winnetka, we are 52% of the demand of IMEA. And if St. Charles and Naperville are taking their time, and in particular, if they do not sign back with IMEA, if they go somewhere else, IMEA is going to have to take all their fixed costs and lay it across the remainder of the clients, and we would be the largest client. I think that's a variable that I haven't heard anyone mention, but it's I believe dangerous to put ourselves in that position where if those two do not sign, we're going to be in a really bad situation. So the other thing too is there's been talk of there's IMEA and then there's the power marketers. I don't think it's a good way to look at the possibilities of providers. IMEA produces electrons, they feed it to the grid, they provide additional services. So does Constellation, NextEra, et cetera. I know for a fact that these other providers, these other competitors to IMEA, who are all in the same business of providing electrons and providing services, these others can also provide the same level of service that we're getting from IMEA today. So I would encourage you to have at least 2 other providers. These are multi-billion-dollar companies. The fact that IMEA is a nonprofit is really not relevant when you look at who the competitors are. Constellation's a publicly traded company with billions of capital behind it. That's not a bad way to go. And I'm not pushing any of them, but I'm just saying, please talk directly, have a presentation, a public presentation from those other providers, pick 2, and make the sound decision.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Barron. Appreciate that. Bruno, you're on.
Hi. Well, I bring you good news. I want to say that thank you very much to the village for everything you guys do the last 5.5 years. We have about 240,000 guests in 5 years at Toco. And thank God why the electrical bill, goes up and up every year. But, we raise the pasta and we break even. So that's a good thing. I'm here not to talk about the electrical, but to, about the music. So last year I don't play any music because the amplify was very high. I got a few complaints from the residents. We have about 3-4 people are very, very sick in the building across the street, and one is in my building, and one is also my daughter. But, I don't want to talk about my daughter, but, the music, amplify, loud music, and also bad music, really don't bring any atmosphere. And for respecting these people, they, after 8:30, 9 o'clock, they want to sleep. Some people take pills to sleep. I think we should not use the amplifier. I really appreciate if we don't do that. I like a classical music, but somebody comes with the cello or violin, it's fine. But put a big music, and I think it's unrespectful for the people that are sick. So thank you very much
Thank
again
you.
for everything you do. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you for being here. We
Thank you.
appreciate that. Is there anyone else that would like to speak during public comment? So I'll close public comment, though I'm going to ask our village attorney, just for the record, to respond to one public comment.
Thank you. I just wanted to respond to Ted's comments briefly. This is not a complicated situation. I think you all know that. But because there are matters of public safety, I was asked to respond. For Ted, we have a signed settlement agreement pursuant to which he agreed unambiguously not to enter the fenced-in area at 205 Sheridan Road. For both Ted and all other members of the general public, nobody is allowed to enter the fenced-in construction area at 205 Sheridan Road at this time. There were no representations about how long, the village made no representations about how long the construction or the construction fence would be up. If there had been an agreement on that, as Trustee Apatow knows, if there had been an agreement on that, it would have been in the settlement agreement. It is not. This trespass citation was in retribution for nothing. The village did not initiate that situation. Ted went down and trespassed, in our opinion. So a trespass citation was issued, and we received a complaint from the property owner. The village responded pursuant to standard operating procedures. There was no bad faith by the village. Proof of that is that we agreed to dismiss with prejudice our trespass complaint. That was our obligation, and we complied with it. In light of Ted's recent statements again tonight that he intends to go this week inside the fenced-in construction area and to move the fence in order to do so, we've urged him in writing, both the police chief and the village attorney, that those actions would be dangerous, a violation of the signed settlement agreement, and otherwise unlawful, with the resulting possible legal consequences. Legal consequences depend on facts. The village has not said whether or not there was going to be any arrests, nor would we ever before we had all the facts. But arrest is something that is possible when somebody breaks the law. So we hope that Mr. Wyatchenko will comply with his agreement and the law, so we don't have to take any further action.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, no, we're going to go on to reports. Feel free to correspond electronically, Ted. Go on to reports. Trustees, we'll start down. Trustee Handler?
No report tonight.
Trustee Albinson?
No report.
Trustee Orsick?
No report.
Trustee Myers?
No report.
Trustee Apatow?
I'm just looking forward to the farmer's market.
Oh, there we
opening
go.
again, as-
There we go.
As most people in Winnetka are, so thanks, Rocky.
Absolutely. Village Attorney
No report.
and Village Manager?
No report.
And I do not have a report myself. So we'll move on to item 6, establishment of the consent agenda. Does any trustee wish to remove any other item on the consent agenda for a separate vote? Seeing none, may I have a motion to approve the final form of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
That's a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the ayes have it. And we'll move on to the approval of the consent agenda. Manager Bayhan will read each item of the consent agenda.
Yes, thank you. And to answer Mr. Winnichenko's question about 480 Oak Street, it applies to the real property that is holding that structure. It does not apply to publicly owned right-of-way. So, okay, consent agenda. Approval of Village Council minutes for April 15th, 2025, regular meeting. Approval of the warrant list dated May 2nd, 2025 through May 15th, 2025 in the amount of $2,049,273.83. Ordinance number M03-2025 designating 480 Oak Street as a landmark for introduction and adoption. And resolution number R45-2025 approving an intergovernmental agreement for participation in the Illinois Public Works Mutual Aid Network for adoption. And resolution number R48-2025 approving a contract with Northern Divers USA Incorporated for raw water intake maintenance.
Thank you, Rob. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda by omnibus vote?
So moved.
Second.
This is a roll call vote.
Trustee Myers?
Yes.
Trustee Apatow?
Yes.
Trustee Orsick?
Yes.
Trustee Albinson?
Yes.
Trustee Handler?
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Thank you. Item 8, ordinances and resolutions. 8A, ordinance number M04-2025, approving a final plat of subdivision and granting a special use permit and variation from the Winnetka Subdivision Code, 473 and 499 Sheridan Road. This is being introduced and possibly for adoption. The applicant is proposing to demolish 2 existing residences to construct a new single-family residence. In addition, the applicant is constructing a boathouse, a pool, and a pergola. And Community Development Director Scott Mangum is here to review. Scott.
Yes, thank you, President Dearborn. As stated, the requested actions this evening have to do with the final plat of subdivision for the consolidation of 2 lots, a variation for a side lot line abutting a rear lot line, and the special use permit for a large lot consolidation. This was before the Plan Commission. The Plan Commission did unanimously recommend approval of the request. The property is located on the east side of Sheridan Road on a private extension of Sheridan between Cherry and Oak. It's within the R2 zoning district and consists of 2 buildable lots. 473 Sheridan, that's approximately 19,000 square feet, and 499 Sheridan, that's approximately 31,000 square feet. These are irregularly shaped lots, including 473, which is essentially a flag lot. The comprehensive plan does call for single-family residential in this location, and single-family residential is proposed. Property is along the lake, so it is subject to steep slope regulations. The photo on the left shows the slope there, and then the photos on the right are the existing improvements on the property, the 2 single-family homes that would be demolished. Those have both been reviewed and considered by the Historic Preservation Commission, and demolition approved without delay. The consolidation of the existing parcels would create a single buildable lot measuring approximately 50,600 square feet. The consolidations represented with the image on the right with an excerpt of the plat on the left. The proposed consolidation complies with zoning standards, including but not limited to the minimum lot area, lot width, and depth. However, a special use permit is required to allow the consolidation due to the size of the proposed lot. The proposed lot would be approximately 200 square feet larger than, 2 times greater than the average lot size, and would be 11 feet wider than 2 times greater than the required average lot width. Considering the special use, you might take a look here at the map that shows that there are approximately 40 lots east of Sheridan Road that are more than double the size within the R2. And village-wide, that's about 12% of the lots within the R2 that are more than double the size of an interior lot. So it does comply with the comprehensive plan. There's subdivision standards also to comply with. In this case, there's one standard that no plan for any land subdivision shall be approved if it results in the creation of 1 or more lots having a side lot line that abuts a rear lot line. Because of the unusual configuration of the existing lots with 3 frontages on Oak and on Sheridan and then also against the lake, the front lot line is on Oak, so then the rear lot line opposing that would be abut against the side lot line of the property to the south. The Plan Commission did recommend this, review the standards, and recommend approval. Overall, the number of nonconformities from the existing lots would be reduced with the consolidation. As stated, the application is for 2.5 proposed new construction for 2.5-story residence, boathouse, pool house, pergola, all which comply with the zoning regulations. Also, the proposed gazebo and deck would remain in their non-conforming nature. So with that, this evening, after hearing from the applicant if desired and the public if desired, given the Plan Commission unanimously recommended approval of the request, the council may wish to either consider waiving introduction of the ordinance M04-2025 and consider adoption, or consider only the introduction this evening. That concludes the staff presentation. Thank you.
Why don't we bring it up here for a second for any questions directly for Scott? I don't think there's
No,
any
the
public
letters don't
comment.
even-
Nope.
that I've seen.
Well, why don't we open this up then for public comment? Does anyone in the audience like to comment? Is the applicant here? Would the applicant like to make a comment on this application?
Hi, thank you. My name is Bill Murphy. I'm to the architecture firm William Murphy Architect. And I have no comments for you. If you have questions, I'm here for you.
Okay. All right. Anyone else in the public like to comment on this agenda item? If not, we'll bring it back to the council here for any questions for Scott, for Mr. Murphy. Trustee Orsic?
I don't have any questions, and I read the Plan Commission notes, which I thought were thoughtful and carefully considered, and it seems like a small amount of overage. It's in character with the neighborhood. I'm happy that they're complying with all of our zoning and not asking for a lot of relief there, and I'm in favor of this.
Okay. Trustee Myers? Trustee Apatow?
Yeah, I think I was part of that Plan Commission discussion, and so I kind of went into the nuts and bolts of it. And, we try to be as neighbor-friendly as we can with this village. And it is, as I said before, kind of a spaghetti mess, kind of the way it was configured. I don't know how it even got done, but I think I thought it was a really smart way to really think through this and combine lots. I think it's going to be a very special property now. Well, obviously, I'm make sure that they're going to comply with everything as they said they would, and make sure the pool doesn't. We want to let them do what they can, but obviously not make sure the pool doesn't hurt the steep slope. And but other than that, I think it's a really smart idea.
Okay. Trustee Handler?
One quick question. Please remind me, I guess I'm looking at, they're keeping the gazebo and the deck, and I'm looking at the age of the houses. I couldn't see when the gazebo and deck need to be replaced since they're outside the buildable zone. Remind me what our new ordinance allows them to do, rebuild it exactly in place? Is that?
I'm not sure I understood the question.
Existing.
Not 100% sure on that. Generally, you'd be
Okay.
able to have maintenance on something that's
Yeah.
non-conforming. If you were to remove it, then you would generally lose the non-conforming
That's, I
rights.
was trying to recall, because there were so many elements to that. Okay, just a thought. Thank you.
Tim, I think Attorney Friedman was saying it may depend on which structure you're talking about, if it's in the steep slope or if it's on the tableland. If it's on the steep slope, I believe non-conforming structures can be rebuilt in the same footprint.
That's what I thought. Okay,
If it's on the tableland, that might be a different story, but I don't want to comment.
okay. But otherwise, I think this, obviously, the two lots are awkward as is, and it makes sense to put something together that makes more sense. So,
No comments?
No comments? My only comment is, I agree with Trustee Apatow that I really appreciate that you've worked within the zoning ordinances. I think you've done it beautifully in compliance, and with a couple small variations that we're likely to approve tonight. I think it's really a nice proposal, and I think it'll be a beautiful home, so thank you for that. Well, is there an appetite to waive introduction on this item?
Yeah.
yeah.
Good, okay. So we'll move on that basis. Do I have a motion to waive introduction of ordinance number M04-2025?
So moved.
Second.
That's a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
No opposed. May I have a motion to adopt ordinance number M04-2025?
So moved.
Second.
That's a roll call vote.
Trustee Apatow?
Yes.
Trustee Myers?
Yes.
Trustee Handler?
Yes.
Trustee Albinson?
Yes.
Trustee Orsic?
Yes.
That moves on. Congratulations and thank you. Good luck with all.
Good luck.
Thank you for that, Scott. This is the Scott Mangum Show tonight. We move on to resolution, item 8B at resolution number R46-2025, granting an amendment to a special use permit, a variation and a certificate of appropriateness for the construction of a playground and improvements within the R4 Single Family Residential District, 1112 Willow Road. And this is a public hearing. A public hearing on the resolution granting an amendment to an existing special use permit, a zoning variation, and a certificate of appropriateness has been advertised for tonight's meeting. Tonight, Village Council will consider the proposed resolution related to Crow Island School. The public hearing regarding construction and improvements at Crow Island School is now open. Village Attorney Peter Friedman will review the guidelines for the public hearing tonight.
The guidelines are, as we've done before, I think staff will do a presentation, and then if you'd like questions or comments from the council, and then afterwards we'll open it up for public comment in the public hearing. We usually keep the public hearing open through the vote, so it's all included in the public hearing and part of the record. And the normal rules on public comment would apply, 3 minutes and so forth.
Okay?
And if there is anybody who's going to testify at the public hearing, you can swear them in.
Yep. As this is a public hearing, I need to administer the oath. So would everybody who intends or may possibly provide comment or testimony tonight on this matter, please raise your right hand and say, "I do," after the oath. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you are about to give tonight is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. And now we move on to Community Development Director Scott Mangum to review this item.
Yes, thank you. So as mentioned this evening, consideration is for an amendment to an existing special use permit and a variation for the height of play equipment, and then additionally certificate of appropriateness. This property is located in the R2 single-family residential zoning district and is surrounded by similar or other single-family zoning districts in the R2, R5, and R4. Public elementary schools are an allowed special use within the R2 district. The zoning ordinance establishes special procedures for a public agency that is serving all or part of the village and has entered into an intergovernmental agreement, or IGA, with the village related to stormwater construction improvements. So that's the reason why the public hearing is here before the village council and does not go through a recommending body as it would in some other instances. Some background: on January 2020, the council adopted 2 resolutions relating to the village stormwater project, a resolution for improving an IGA with District 36 in the village, and then a resolution approving variations related to a potential future school improvement and creating a potential building zone where that improvement could occur. District 36 is now proposing a new playground and landscaping on the south side of the school building. The building addition is currently under construction, and the related site modifications require the playground to be relocated within the site. The general location of the playground was identified on the site plan for the addition, which was approved by the Village Council in 2024. At the time the addition was considered by council, the design of the playground and landscaping were not yet finalized. So this evening, that finalization of the plan is before you. The proposed landscaping is to address tree removals that occurred to accommodate the building addition along the west side of the site. The village foresters reviewed the proposed landscape plan and noted that the tree replacement for the addition of the school required 50 inches of replacement trees, and that is being met by the proposed landscape plan here. The applicants provided these renderings to illustrate the proposed landscaping playground. The black 4-foot decorative iron fence shown was previously approved in 2024. These are renderings of the proposed play surface itself and equipment. The proposed play surface would be beige in color, matching existing playgrounds recently installed at other D36 schools. The proposed equipment would be in brown tones, similar to existing play equipment on the site. After hearing from the applicant and the public, the council may wish to consider adopting the resolution, approving the amendment to the existing special use permit, zoning variation for 16-foot tall playground equipment instead of 15-foot tall, and a certificate of appropriateness to allow the playground and landscaping improvements for the Crow Island School. That concludes the staff presentation. Available for questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Questions for Scott from the council?
So I have a question. The 15 feet height of this, is there, do we know what other equipment in the village is? I mean, like over at the park behind the post office, and I'm not sure. Is this like unusual height? I'm not
I don't know offhand. I know there's been at least one Winnetka Park District park that has received a variation for the height of playground equipment. Essentially, this is within a single-family zoning district, so the 15-foot height would be the same as it would be for an accessory structure like a garage. So that's where that height requirement comes from. The equipment itself is 15 feet, but with the sub-base that's 1 foot tall, then the total is 16 feet.
Yeah, I'm not as worried about the
Yeah, the equipment itself is 15.
aesthetics as as I'm sure they've done their safety test and obviously, so that's the only thing I was curious was like other equipment we have around the village, but I'm not worried about the aesthetics of the 15 feet playground equipment. Yeah. Okay.
Questions for Scott?
Yeah, and just to confirm, the only thing that is a height variation is the roof on this one structure, right? The rest is much lower.
I believe so, yeah. The tallest point is at 15 from,
And I imagine some of this playground equipment is in a sense stock designed, it's not custom made, so that's the size it comes in, I would think. So otherwise, it looks like a nice plan.
I also think that I misspoke. I think this is R2, not R4 district, correct? Or is it
Correct.
combination of R2, R4?
I think it's surrounded by R4, I believe, but let me double check that. Yes, it's within the R2 zoning district.
R2, so it's R2, okay. Are there, representatives of the school district that would like to speak on this agenda item? Great.
Hello, I'm Justin with Justin Heggie with Perkins and Will Architecture. So I just wanted to clarify a couple things. Yes, the pitched roof at the center that you were mentioning is the only part that is above grade. And just I know that we had a letter which possibly was in the packet, but the reason that this is going up is just mostly to meet the ADA grades for the new addition and the existing ramp into the building, where the site used to fall off a little more, and we're bringing the grade up to just tie in the accessibility of everything. But as mentioned, the structure is actually 15 foot above grade, which counts as 16 foot off the existing grade.
Right.
Yeah. So I think that's the only thing that I would like to clarify, so thank you.
Okay. Any other comments from the public? Representatives of the school district? We're glad you're here. We'll bring it back to council here. How do people feel about this?
It's good.
Looks good.
Yeah.
No issues?
No.
No issues? Okay. Great, great. So we will just move on to a motion to adopt this resolution. May I have a motion to adopt resolution number R47, 2025?
So moved.
Second.
And Rob, that's a roll call vote.
Thank you. Trustee Elvinson?
Yes.
Trustee Orsic?
Yes.
Trustee Apatow?
Yes.
Trustee Myers?
Yes.
Trustee Handler?
Yes.
Congratulations. It'll be beautiful. Thank you. The kids will love it.
You can go play on it.
Take my grandkids there.
We'll go to item 9, old business none. Item 10, new business none. And as you all know, there's a slew of appointments, and let me just,
Resolution.
wait, where are we?
We got one more.
What about the Overweiss
Hang on.
field?
Oh, wait a second, did I do the wrong resolution then?
They just came to watch.
All right, we'll go to another resolution. Resolution number R47, 2025, granting a certificate of appropriateness for exterior building alterations at 510 Winnetka Avenue. And this is being presented for adoption. Tonight, council will consider a request from the applicant seeking approval to allow exterior building alterations and installation of new signage. And Community Development Director Scott Mangum is here to present. Scott?
Yes, thank you. So the Village Council is considering the Design Review Board's April 17th recommendation of approval of a certificate of appropriateness. That was by a 4-1 vote. The improvements include refurbishment of existing awning frames, installation of new wall sign, and exterior building alterations at 510 Winnetka Avenue for an Overweiss Dairy and Ice Cream store. The location is at the corner here of Briar and Winnetka Avenue. This is a first floor tenant space within a 3-story mixed-use building. The property is at the southwest intersection of Green Bay and Winnetka Avenue. It is within the C1 Neighborhood Commercial Zoning District. So in this case, the DRB makes a recommendation on the Village Council, and that's the reason the Village Council is the determining body in this case. So the applicant's seeking approval to cover the existing awning frames with new fabric, install new valance signs on those awnings, a new wall sign over the corner entrance of the building, and exterior building alterations, including changes to the existing doors, windows, and updating existing sconce lighting. This is a elevation of the main entrance, kind of on the angle, and this is a north elevation. The applicant has agreed to replace all awnings on the building in the same red color with permission of the condo association as necessary, per a recommendation of the DRB condition of approval. The proposed awning valance signs, they would cover the existing awning frames with the Oberweis brand red color, white lettering, 6-inch tall, including an ice cream cone logo. And then the wall sign is proposed at the corner. That would be the main entry facing Green Bay Road, would be externally illuminated with black LED gooseneck light fixtures. The black color of the light fixtures is a revision per recommendation from the DRB. And additionally, the proposed exterior building alterations include replacing the double doors on the northern side with storefront windows that match existing storefront system, and replacing the double doors on the eastern side and elevation with a single door and storefront windows that match the existing style and color of the storefront used on the entire building. Additionally, they'd be replacing the exterior wall sconces. After hearing from the applicant and the public, the council may wish to consider adopting a resolution approving certificate of appropriateness to allow the awnings, wall signage, and for Oberweis Dairy and Ice Cream Store at 510 Winnetka Avenue. I should note this is within the C1 zoning district. This use is permitted by right within the district. That concludes the staff presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Let's bring it up here for any questions for Scott on this item. Trustee Myers?
Scott, I've got just 2 questions. Are any of the exterior design elements outside of our code?
They're not seeking any variances for any of this.
Okay.
Design guidelines generally prefer not as bright of color of red, but it was recommended for approval by the DRB.
Okay. And then when the DRB met, there was a vote in opposition. It was unclear from the meeting minutes and the notes if there was any expression of why. I don't know if you can shed any light on that.
There were comments from the public in opposition or in concern to the project, primarily to do with the use itself and perceived conflicts with the bylaws and condom declarations there. There was some concern about attracting more people to the site than had been there previously for the previous tenant. Additionally, the public expressed some concern about the lighting. However, the lighting was explained to be kind of downlit at the sign face itself.
But this is a use by right in this area?
That's correct.
Okay, Trustee Apatow?
2 things. One, this is going to be straight ice cream, correct? There is not food service in this?
The applicant testified they would not be preparing any foods on site, that products would be brought to the site there. So would have ice cream products, and they may be able to describe what all variations of ice cream they'll be selling.
But no grills and no, like...
Most Oberweis stores, you have milk too. But
Hello, I'm Jennifer Peterson, Vice President of Marketing and Sales for Oberweis. At this store, it will be ice cream. We do sell milk and bottled like pints and quarts of ice cream, but we don't have any grills. We're not making anything there.
Okay. Other thing I had is, and this may have been answered, I didn't see it, which is, it's a pretty busy corner, parking. What's the plan? is there a lot behind, right behind, I'm trying to think, because I walked that 100 times, but is there a lot right behind it, or where are people going to park? I'm just trying not to put a burden on the residents.
Sure. Hi there. I am Jen Epstein. I work for Hoffman Commercial Real Estate. I have been the property manager for the last 8 years. There are some spots that are included with the commercial space. I know the association has said that they wouldn't allow the public to park there. I know currently, I think the prior owner was leasing them out to New Trier students because parking is so heavily needed in that area for students as well. And so we purchased the building at 530 Winnetka Avenue. There's currently the doctors that are operating out of the office, but most of them are planning to retire. So they did a short lease back for 2 years. So right now we do have an agreement with them that we have exclusive use of that parking lot after 6 p.m. So that would be all Oberweis parking. I believe there's maybe 12 or 15 parking spots in that lot. And we also own the adjacent building at 86 through 88 Green Bay Road, where the 7-Eleven is located as well. I know there's been a lot of changes with parking in the area when Tala Coffee came in, kind of with that corridor right there that used to be commuter parking. So we see that as an opportunity as well.
So doctor's office after 6, 12 spots or so. So overall, on a night, how many spaces would you think you have?
I would say on a night, maybe anywhere from 20 to 30, depending on how busy the 7-Eleven is.
Pretty good.
I want to confirm with Scott that what we're being asked to approve includes the comments from DRB that all of the awnings on the whole building get changed out to match. Is that correct?
That's correct. The applicant did agree to change all the awnings, provided they have access and authority to do so with the association.
So, and if they don't have access and authority with the association, then none of it happens? Is that correct?
The way I believe it's written in the ordinance is that they, to the best of their abilities, they're able to change all those. But they will certainly change the ones that they have access to, the Oberweis.
So it's not
adjacent.
a hard requirement?
It's required for them to make best efforts to do so.
Best efforts.
If they're not allowed, by bylaws, or if those are necessary, I don't know. The way the ordinance is written, it wouldn't hold them to be able to do so.
Are you asking about that the awnings be the same, or that the awnings be used at all?
I'm asking that the awnings be the same to match the DRB's recommendation.
Right, so if they proceed with the project, the awnings have to be the same.
They have to, so it's not optional?
That's not, if they do the awnings, it's not optional, correct?
If they're allowed access to do the awnings outside of the Oberweis space, then they would be required to be the same color as the Oberweis awnings.
That's the question, is, I think what I'm understanding the DRB had asked, they had made a recommendation to us that the ordinance includes the requirement that all the awnings be changed out, not if they have best efforts. But that's my understanding of the situation, but am I wrong in that? And I'm sorry, Scott, to contradict you, but.
So yeah, the way it's written in the ordinance is the applicant agrees to use reasonable efforts to install awnings on the portion of the building that does not contain the commercial tenant spaces that are uniform in color and schemed to Oberweis, provided the installation of such awnings does not violate the bylaws or declaration of the condo association.
So to your point, so if they can't, that we could have 4 red awnings and 3 burgundy, or whatever is the number that.
Correct.
Okay.
I would encourage, so I'm in favor of this, but I would just encourage the applicant to take extreme best efforts with the condo association to get all of the awnings changed out.
We agree. Hi, it's Jennifer Peterson again. We agreed to do that, so we definitely want to make sure that all of the awnings match and work with the tenants of the condo association.
Yeah, that's a beautiful building, and I feel like, actually, I know the red is a little bit unusual, but I feel that Oberweis's stores are always very attractively designed, and that will bring some, for lack of a better term, some oomph to that corner with new lighting and the matching awning. So I do hope the condo association is amenable to that. I think that will make the building even more attractive.
Thank you. We think so too.
Okay.
Anything else from the council? Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this topic? Okay, we'll close the public comment on this issue, and we'll bring it back here. Sounds like people are generally in favor.
Yeah, I think it's a nice addition to that corner and that the awnings look attractive.
I think I'll need samples to make up my mind. No.
Okay, you do that. Trustee Myers?
Just for transparency, so Oberweis will be a vendor at the Music Fest. Like all vendors at the Music Fest, they pay for the tent to rent. That's all that they pay, as well as a food permit. So there's no additional revenue to the Music Fest.
Okay, are we okay with that? Village attorney?
No conflict.
Okay, there we go. That being the case, it seems like there's general agreement. May I have a motion to adopt, hang on a second here, resolution number R47, 2025?
So, second.
And that is a roll call vote, Rob.
Trustee Albinson?
Yes.
Trustee Handler?
Yes.
Trustee Myers?
Yes.
Trustee Apatow?
Yes.
Trustee Orr?
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Congratulations. Thank you for coming to town. We'll move on to item 9, which is finally old business none. Item 10, new business none. Item 11, appointments, and you all received the list of appointments, and I assume I would have heard from any of you if there were any objections, but I just want to put a little context in this, and I mentioned this a couple weeks ago. We have 10 lower boards and commissions, in excess of 60 volunteer positions across the board. At the moment, as we sit here before these appointments, there are several vacancies, and a number of members of these boards and commissions are operating beyond their stated term, and we're trying to bring it all up to date. Kristen has worked hard on this with me, with Rob, and so we're bringing a whole slew of people tonight. We'll bring similar numbers in June. And I would say this, you know some of these people because they are longtime residents, a couple of them, but most of the appointments here are people that are younger. They're in their 40s for the most part, some late 30s, 40s, maybe some into their 50s. And the whole, at least my thought was to try to infuse these groups with some future leadership. And I'm really enthused about some of these people joining and I think they'll be great contributors to their various positions. And so what we're going to do here, to make it somewhat easy, I'm just going to read the names, and we're ultimately going to vote for the whole package on an omnibus basis. So we don't have to vote for each appointment. Is that okay?
Correct.
All right. Okay. So I'm just going to read the different appointments. We're going to appoint Chris Baggett to a full term on the Design Review Board. Chris is filling a current vacancy, and his term will expire on May 1st, 2030. We're going to appoint Wes Barker to the Design Review Board, and Wes is replacing Paul Constant on the Design Review Board, and Wes's term will expire on May 1st, 2027. We're going to reappoint Heather Niehoff to a full term on the Design Review Board. Her term will expire on May 1st, 2030. I would also say, just before I interrupt, because Heather is a good example of this, village staff reached out to all the existing members of these boards and commissions to determine that we're out of term, whether they wanted to re-up. And we're just delighted, I believe, for the most part, other than Paul, who was just rolling off, everyone re-upped. And so we're really happy about that.
Great.
We're going to appoint King Poor, who's not here but was here earlier, to a full term on the Environmental and Forestry Commission, and King is replacing Patrick Hanley. King's term will expire on May 1st, 2028. We're going to reappoint Liz Kunkel to a full term on the Environmental Forestry Commission. Her term will expire on May 1st, 2027. We're going to reappoint David Varka to a full term on the Environmental Forestry Commission. His term will expire on May 1st, 2027. Reappoint Jack Collett Archie as chairperson on the Historic Preservation Commission. Jack's term will expire on May 1st, 2027. We're going to appoint Patty Van Cleve to a full term on the Historic Preservation Commission. Patty is filling a current vacancy, and her term will expire on May 1st, 2028. Appoint Anna Wisniewski to a full term on the Historic Preservation Commission. Anna is filling a current vacancy, and her term will expire on May 1st, 2028. We're going to reappoint Christopher Enck to a full term on the Historic Preservation Commission. Chris's term will expire on May 1st, 2027. We're going to reappoint Beth Ann Papoutsis to a full term on the Historic Preservation Commission. Beth Ann's term will expire on May 1st, 2027. We're going to reappoint Joe Stewart to a full term on the Historic Preservation Commission. His term will expire on May 1st, 2026. We're going to reappoint Paul Weaver to a full term on the Historic Preservation Commission. Paul's term will expire on May 1st, 2026. We're going to reappoint Fuad Kader to a full term on the Police Pension Board. Fuad's term will expire on May 1st, 2026. We're going to reappoint Matthew Bradley as chairperson of the Zoning Board of Appeals. Matt's term will expire on May 1st, 2029. We're going to reappoint Lynn Hanley to a full term on the Zoning Board of Appeals. Lynn's term will expire on May 1st, 2027. And we're going to reappoint Mike Nielsen to a full term on the Zoning Board of Appeals. Mike's term will expire on May 1st, 2030. So you know many of these names and the contributions that they've made to their various boards and commissions. Feel very good about these appointments. May I have a motion to appoint and reappoint the said chairpersons, commissioners, members, and trustees to their respective boards as set forth by appointments A through Q by omnibus vote?
So moved.
Second.
And that is a voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 No opposed? Thank you very much for approving all those appointments. Much appreciated.
Rob, can I just?
Yep, Scott.
Can I just have a quick question? We have a lot of people who are going to be rolling off in a year's time. Do we have a point person who will collect? I know we have a way that people can, if they're if they're interested themselves, they can fill out an application. But is there a way or a point person that we can designate to say, hey, here's someone I met, I think that they would be interested. Should it go to you? Should it go to Kristen?
That is a great point to make, Scott, and the more the better to fill the bench, if you will, to get the roster going. And there is an online application. Kristen is the point person on this. So I think that to the extent we run into people, and I would wholeheartedly endorse younger people, have them indicate their interest to Kristen either directly or through this application. It's a very easy process. And again, I met personally with all of these people, and it's a very fulfilling kind of a mission to fill these groups, because this is the future leadership of this community, let's face it. And
I was just going to put a plug in for the farmers market, because over the last 2 years, we have found 2 people who've come up to the table to talk with us about issues, and we could tell they were quite passionate about whatever subject, and we passed their name on to, at the time it was to Chris, and they ended up joining boards.
Great.
So
I was thinking
as when we're working the table, don't forget to keep that in mind.
I was wondering if we can be intentional, whether it's with some type of signage, that if you're interested in serving, we should have some, because otherwise we're
idea.
asking the questions and a lot of people walk by, but
Yep,
maybe let's talk of something intentional that says, sign up for a commission.
That's a great idea.
That's a great idea. As we know, the more things we have that are interactive at the farmers market, the more successful
least
I
start
think
the
our efforts are.
dialogue.
Yeah.
Good, thank you for that. And as I said, June 3rd, June 17th, we'll have more appointments to consider. Closed session, item 12, there's no closed session tonight. And item 13, adjournment. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And that's a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.